and I want to share with you my screen on this lesson on the style. The second, wait, okay, let me see if you can see my slide now. Do you see my slide?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes
thank
po.
you. So this will still be a continuation of the visual experience that we have discussed last time, and now we are into our third part of the visual experience, and that is style in the art. So when you say style in the art, wait, let me accept who's coming in. Okay, thank you. There. How do you define a style in the art? So basically, our art style is just similar to the use of the word style in common sense. Like, let's try to look into this one. Style is determined by the characteristic that describe the artwork, such as the way how the artist employ the form, the color, and composition. So last time we learned about the elements and the principles of art. So these colors, compositions, the hues, the texture, the lines, these are pertaining to the elements of the art. And the guide or the principles that would shape all of these things together would be called the principle. So the style of the artist, it says in here, elaborating it, that when the employment, the way how the artists use the elements and principles together, that's the style of the artist, and that's called the style in art. Okay, so we have a lot of styles in art. The reason why we have a lot of styles in the art, because we have different histories. Usually the product of people's art are product of their experiences, external and internal. Okay, so they combine all of these things together and they come up with a variety of styles. What I'm going to show you today are the basic styles in art, and these are common thing about the styles in art. So we will just look into some visuals that would basically describe what a style is that. Okay, but we will not analyze as far as that yet, because I'm just going to orient you with the styles that we have in art, in the fields of art. So basically, the common one are the contemporary, the pop art, the abstract expressionism, cubism. It's there, Art Deco, Art Nouveau, post-impressionism, impressionism, and then we have surrealism and many more. So we will discuss along the way. One of the most popular style in art is the contemporary. As the word implies, contemporary means today, present. So it has something to do with the modernism style or modern style. So what we have in here, let's try to look at this art, particular art. So you can easily see that it's not, this is a paint, these are paintings, but you can see that it's not very flat. So it already has the touch of a modern style. Why? Because it looks like a 2D. The thing that we have discussed a few days ago, that when you look at a painting, it doesn't look like a painting. It doesn't look like a flat thing on a surface or your canvas, but it looks like a 2D thing. So that's modern. Okay, so next one would be, after this modern art, then we have pop art. Okay, so it's almost the same. Sometimes people are confused which one is pop art, which one is modern art. So let me read this line. Pop art is an art movement that emerged in the United Kingdom and the United States during the mid to late 1950s. The movement presented a challenge to traditions of fine art by including imagery from popular and mass culture, such as advertising, comic books, and mass-produced objects. Okay, so this is according to Wikipedia. And now we look at how they differentiate from one another. The contemporary art usually it looks like a 2D. and it looks like it has a volume, though it is done on a flat surface. But for pop art, it looks like really on a flat surface, and it's usually used in comics book. When you look at your manga, like the Japanese comic books, the manga, then you can see that it doesn't look like a 2D or 3D thing. Okay, so it's flat in surface and the texture is flat, unlike in modern art. But they are almost similar, very, very similar, very near with each other. Okay, the next one would be abstract expressionism. We are very familiar already with the word abstract or term abstract. That means it gives us a very confusing concept of what the art is, because it's trying to come up with a concept which is not very popular to everyone. Okay, so you have to at least, not really very intelligent, but at least you have to know the history of the artist, maybe, or you have to know whatever the subject is, you have to know a characteristic of the subject, and you have to have a little background of the artist and the subject itself. So basically, abstract artworks show something that is the colors are distorted, the figures are distorted, the lines are distorted, and you cannot really figure out what's in that canvas in one glance. So basically, that's abstract paint. This is an abstract painting. Okay, so Cubism, it says here again, Cubism was a revolutionary new approach to representing reality, invented in around 1908 to 1907 to 1908 by Picasso. So basically, cube. It comes from the term cubism. So you look at the painting, there are a lot of shapes, and the shapes are in a cubic form, in cubes. So this is where the word cubism came from. But actually, you notice that these different styles in art, contemporary, the pop art, the abstract expressionism or impressionism, cubism, they all evolve, or they are all birthed out from a particular period in time. Okay, so that means whatever the history is, whatever the event was, the history is, there lies the foundational principles of this art. So it says in here, Cubism was birthed between 1907 to 1908, and it was popularized by Pablo Picasso and together with George Braque. Okay, so I want you, since we do not have the luxury of time to go into the details of this art, I want you to, after the lesson that we have today, I want you to look into your internet and search more and read more about Cubism, pop art, and many more art styles. But do not memorize, okay? I just want you to have browse more information about these styles in art. And then we have the Art Deco. Art Deco is usually used in churches and other structures. And the samples, these are the good samples of Art Deco that we have. It flourished in Europe, and it is popularized between 1895 to 1900. So you see, the period is not, will always be there when we discuss of this art style. And then we have, actually, Art Deco is successor after Art Nouveau, or it could be the other way around. But both style in art flourish from Europe. Here we have Art Nouveau. Okay, the big difference between Art Deco and Art Nouveau, you look at the styles. Art Deco, we go back. Art Deco is a little bit more defined and clear, and the structure is very more systematic. Okay, while in Art Nouveau, it's very near Baroque style. That means there are a lot of curved lines found in it, unlike in Art Deco. But it's almost the same, because this movement in art, were just the other one came first than the other one. Okay, so we have here post-impressionism. Impressionism, as the word implies, impress. It tries to impress. basically, I think I believe I have discussed this few days ago already, that Impressionism, the author is trying to impress the audience. So in here, you can see that the, the, the grasses or the trees in here are not as detailed as should be in reality, similar to reality, because it's trying to impress. It's trying to get the attention of the audience. So how does the artist do this? By trying to a little bit, not really distorted, but a little bit distort the real colors and the real movement in the compared to the trees in the actual picture, compared to the grasses in the actual picture. So that's how the art impressionism style, that's how the artists do, that's how the artists do in post impressionism style. Okay, let's admit another student. Okay, so that's about post impressionism, and again the date is there. It is a movement in the 1880s. Okay, it's against impressionism, it says. So that means, yeah, impressionism came first, and then here comes post impressionism. So that means post impressionism and impressionism are very similar in quality or character. So let's take a look at this impressionism style. So if um, post impressionism happened in the 1880s, then Impressionism in the 19th century already. So just after post-impressionism is Impressionism. So it says here that this 19th century art movement, this Impressionism, is characterized by small, thin, yet visible brush strokes, open composition, emphasis to an accurate depiction of light in its changing qualities. Okay, so ordinary subject matter, unusual visual angles. So ordinary subject matter. So usually ordinary, what does it mean? This is a mother and a child picture. So we can see the scene mother and a child at home. We can see mother and a child in school and in the community, and that's an ordinary subject matter. So that is the kind of subject that we usually see in our impressionist artwork. Okay, and unusual visual angles. Unusual visual angles is that you cannot determine or distinguish well where the light is coming from. So usually the color is everywhere. Okay, and the subject or the background of your subject has a mixture of colors, different colors. So you don't know where the light is coming from. That's how impressionism is being done, and the colors are extraordinary. So not all leaves are green, and not all flowers are red or orange or or purple. It could be black, it could be brown, or something like this. That's the style of impressionism. Okay, we move to the next slide, and then we have surrealism. Surrealism is basically, again, a movement. Okay, it's a movement that's coming from the unconscious mind. When you say unconscious mind, it's not definite. We cannot really come up with a shape. We cannot really come up with a form, and we cannot really come up with a distinction or very clear quality or feature of a surrealism type of art. Okay, so basically, if it's coming from the unconscious, then it could be a little bit confusing, distorted, and it's not normal. So it's a little bit futuristic. Maybe the artist is trying to say that in the future, time will be useless, or time will be running out of time. This painting, I am trying to describe this painting. So in the future, maybe time is not will not be valued anymore. So it's something like that. So in the future, maybe that will happen. So in some cases, surrealism is also associated to futurism, but it's not limited, because in some cases, futurism is also associated with Dadaism. But later I will talk about that. Okay, so one of the styles in art is also photography. That's why a lot of people are doing photography already, and they are considered as artists, and it's one of the styles, because not all people or not all artists are good in in sketching. Not all are good in painting, sculpting, or doing some architecture or dancing or singing. But some people find photography also an expression of passion or expression of yourself and the society. So they came up with the style, the photography style, and it's very common. So we don't have to elaborate so much on this one. The vintage art is very similar to Baroque. Let me define this one. The broad definition of vintage art is generally commercial artwork created from the 19th through the 20th century. So that means this is almost part of the contemporary or popular art. Vintage art is not to be confused to the works of painters using watercolors and oils on canvas. For vintage, they have different media. They use different media, and they have a lot of things and concepts and principles that are applied in their particular subject. So it still comes out as a very beautiful thing. This painting here is one type of vintage media art. Okay, so the next one, the one that I'm talking a while ago, the Surrealism, we have the Dadaism. The Dadaism is also a style in art, and it is birthed out of the Dada art movement. So I want to inform this one. I want to read this one. A movement in art and literature based on the deliberate irrationality and negotiation of traditional artistic values. Artists of the day who were influenced by contemporary European art movements like the Dadaism and Futurism. Now let's take a look at how they do this. Okay, so you look at this one, it's a little bit distorted. This is the face, normally this is the face of the human, but there are some modification in it. So there's distortion in Dada art movement. Actually, Dada art movement, when we talk of history, it is an art movement that is against war. Okay, so after the war, the people were able to create a Dada art movement or Dada art style. Why? Because their concepts, the way how they feel, the way how they think, their experience also were mixed together, and they come up with this kind of distorted art. Okay, that's the way how they rebel against this war movement. They don't like the war, so they came up with this kind of art. Okay, the next one would be Romanticism. So you look at this one, it from the word romance. So you can romance. There's when you say romance, it doesn't have to do only with love stories or sweet things. Okay, so there's romance. They said, according to experts or artists, there's more of romance in a painting when there's a very big, very huge irony in the subjects found within. Okay, so let's try to look at this one. You look at a beautiful lady lying down, a very beautiful, with a very beautiful body. Okay, but on her is a beast sitting on her tummy. So what there's a little bit ironic in the subject matter already, because it is trying to portray a beautiful lady, yet there's a beast on top of her. Okay, so the emphasis on romanticism style of art is on the individual's expression of emotion and deep imagination, and departure from the attitudes and forms of classicism and rebellion against established social rules. Okay, so that means it's getting away from the social norm, that when the normal way of painting would be, if you paint something beautiful, then just paint a beautiful woman with a beautiful body, that's all. But but trying to inject or put some ironic thing on that beautiful subject on the painting, then there is the romanticism style is being employed. Okay, so we will learn more about that, because still have to introduce to you a lot of different styles. So minimalism, from the word minimal, small, few. Okay, So let's look at this one. It's a design. It could be a painting or it could be a structure. It could be an installation. Installation, that means it's there. The actual thing is there. The chair is there, the desk is there, and the mirror is there. They could also have this as a painting. So it's still in a minimal style. Why? Because look, the color is very plain. The subject has almost the same color with the background. Okay, so there's not a lot of colors used in this painting. There's not a lot of shapes or forms found in the painting. There's no so much contradiction or irony in the painting because white is all over the canvas or all over the installation. So that's minimalism. There's ornamentation is lesser. Okay, so we move to arts and craft movement. So it says here the arts and craft movement was an international trend in the decorative and fine arts that developed earlier and most fully in the British Isles and subsequently spread across the British Empire to the rest of Europe and America. It is associated with machinery and factory production. So you notice that your walls in the paper wall, we call that, or you notice that the the paper wall that we usually use at home or in school or even in your offices, they are made in the factory. They are not made by the hands, by the actual sketching or painting or something like this. Arts and craft movement style would be more associated with the mass production in the factory and machinery. So it is a mass production thing. Okay. So now, after having all of those styles of art, which I will be requesting everyone to look more, to have a broader perspective of these different styles in art. Now we will be moving to the fourth or last part of this lecture is the art evaluation and criticism. So we have four steps in trying to come up with art evaluation or critiquing your art. But let me first define what art criticism is. So, art critics usually criticize art in the context of aesthetics or the theory of beauty. So, art criticism is responding to interpreting meaning and making critical judgment about a specific work of art. So, one of the criticism goal is to pursue the pursuit of a rational basis for art appreciation. So, art criticism is very much associated to this subject because we will learn how to appreciate an art if we are able to process those four steps in evaluating our art. Okay, so these are the four steps. The first step is description. When we describe, as the word implies, I want to share to you this slide because it will be very specific for everyone. When we describe, we use the eye in looking at a particular art, and what do we see? So this would be the question that you will pose so that you will be able to describe a particular art. So what do I see? You see with your eye, right? So you get into the details of the art, you look at the colors, you look at the medium being used, you look at the principles being employed. The reason why we talk about the principles and the elements of this particular art because it has something to do with describing them. So you look into the size, you look into the media being used, employed in your art, and then you also have to check on the date and the title of that particular art. Okay, so that's how you have to describe an art. So usually you see this in the museums or even in the books art book that you see. So there's the name of the author, there's the title, there's the size, there's the medium being used, and there's the year when it was created. Okay, so let me go one by one with how are you going to describe. So what's the name of the artist who created the artwork? You have to know that. What kind of artwork this is? So is it a painting? Is it a sculpture? Is it architecture? Is it a song or a dance? So what's the name of the artwork? When was the artwork created? So I just told you that. So list the literal objects in the painting. So how there are trees, there are people, there are animals, there are flowers in the painting. And what do you notice first when you look at the artwork? So here comes your experience already on the artwork. The physical experience, the visual experience, which I just discussed a few days ago, or we have just discussed part of it a while ago. So what do you notice when you look first at the artwork? So that would be your visual experience. So when you look at the people in the canvas, what are they doing? When you look at the place, what's the time? When was it done? So when you look at the colors, is it bright? Is it light? Is it dark? And all of these things that you see would best describe the give a critique on its description. Okay, so of course your description is focused on how your eye look at that particular artwork. Okay, the next description is analysis. So analysis is very common for everyone. You're going to analyze it. And when you're going to analyze it, of course, you have to process. A few days back, we talked about how the eyes would see, the visual experience, how the eyes would see, and how the brain would think about that particular art. And then you come up with your statement or judgment. Isn't it? I shared that one. So this is what am trying to come up with now, your analysis. So you try to mix how you look at the art and how you think about that particular art, and you mix your emotions about it, the feelings that you have towards this art, then you come up with your analysis. So you're not limited to your description now. You are now analyzing why with the use of your brain. Okay, so to relate design with the element and principles of art and design. So when you try to analyze, of course, you have to give meaning to this particular art by trying to put or consolidate the principles and elements used in this particular art. And also, out of that, you come to discover the whole idea because you try to compose all of these small elements and principles together and you come up with a big whole thing. So it also says that the elements of art and designs include lines. Okay, we already talked about that. And the principles are mixed together. So that's how you must analyze your art. Okay, so how are you going to do when you analyze? So you look how has the artist used colors in the artwork. So what sort of effect do the colors have on the artwork? How the artist use shape within the artwork. So how have lines been used in the artwork? So you're trying to analyze now how are these elements used in that particular piece of art? How these principles are being employed? How do you look at those lines? How do you look at those use, those textures? How do you look at those harmony? Where is harmony in that particular art? So you're trying to make meanings already by analyzing. So that's the analysis, the second step in trying to come up with a judgment. Okay, so now we move to the third one, which is interpretation. Interpretation, that means you are now going to make your own statement out of your visual experience, out of your analysis, then your interpretation. What do you say now about the particular art? Okay, so that's the third step so far. So when we interpret, what is the artist saying? Okay, so you have describe and find the meaning or mood of the artwork. What's the meaning of this one? So apart from analyzing the elements and principles mixed together, you come up with a broader sense of looking at the art now because you're trying to make your own statement about the art. You're going to make assumptions about the art, and it could be positive about what the artist's perception is, and it could be negative about what the artist's perception is. Okay, so to combine the imagination, expertise, and creative value to search the sign of the visual arts and relate the meaning of this, all of these things into your artwork, embedded in your artwork. That is interpretation. Okay. And the last step in looking at your art is the judgment. Okay. So what do you do when we judge? In judging, what does this piece mean to me and to the whole world? So first we look at the this particular art by describing, and then we come up with analysis by combining the principles and elements which were employed in that particular art. So we come up with our own analysis. And then we try to interpret this analysis and come up with our own statement. How do you feel about that? And the last part is the judgment. Okay, in this section, in this part or step in trying to come up with your art critique, what does this particular art mean to me and what does this particular art mean to the world? Okay, so when you judge, it means that you may ask this question: did the artist use the formalistic element to convey his message well? Did the artist made use of those elements, proper elements and principles to convey his message well? Do you think this art is successful in conveying the message of the artist? So do you think this art is significant to the society? Do you think this art is significant to me personally? Okay, so that's how you judge. You come up with your judgment in art or in the last section in trying to come up with your art critique. So there are a lot of things. I will be sending to you this questions so that you will more understand how to judge an art. Okay, so one good example is when you ask this question: do you think that the artwork has a benefit for me, for the others, and for society? That's judgment. Do you find that work communicates an idea, feeling, or principle that would have value for others? So when you make judgment, it could be related or very much associated to the value of the art piece to yourself, to the society, and to the whole world. The impact of that particular art is your judgment. Okay, so I hope that's clear regarding the four steps in trying to come up with your art critique. And may I again reiterate, or may I again stress out that trying to come up with art critiquing, or trying to come up with an art critique, this is very important so that you will come to understand and appreciate your art. Okay, so here, why is art criticism important? Let me read the following reasons why art criticism is important. It says here, art criticism can make the study art less mysterious and more logical. That means it could be absorbed by the brain immediately if it's more logical. If it's less mysterious, if it's mysterious, then it's a little bit confusing or distorting and it doesn't relax the mind. But when you try to critique that particular art and you come up with the right judgment, you come up with a judgment, then you make the art is more logical when we try to perceive it, and that will be helpful for everyone. Next one, it is a sequential approach for looking at and talking about art. So art criticism would be a, a very good procedure, a very good method in trying to come up with a judgment, in trying to look into those art. So you need those steps. Art criticism is very important. So also, of course, art criticism will help you describe the artwork, analyze the artwork, interpret the artwork, and come up with a better judgment. Also, art criticism gives you confidence to discuss works of art without worrying about what other people might think, because you will be very clear. You will come up with a clarity or clear perception of what the art, uh, that particular art is all about, because you have a step by step or very good method in trying to come up with your art statement. So also, art criticism develops the courage to speak your mind and make an authentic judgment about it. Authentic, that means it is your personal opinion about that particular thing. So it brings out your uniqueness in you, because when you try to judge a particular art, then you try to explain it based on your feelings, based on how you think, based on your experience. Okay, and of course, the formal and informal lessons that you get along the way. Okay, so that's a very good thing. Now look at this one. I will be just be sending to you all of these things for critiquing, personal critiquing. You can critique all of these things at home. This is my one of my arts which was exhibited somewhere in Cubao, in Sining Tamalig. So I had this exhibited already, and then I also have this one exhibited in Baguio. And then I have this one. I'm sharing it to you so that when you get home after we finish this class, you can start critiquing my art. Okay. And then this one, it was exhibited in Quezon City in Caris Gallery. Okay, this is, yeah. So usually I said that my module is a talking module, so I write this one. And we have already discussed the last part of visual experience, that's the style. And then we have come across with the different styles in VR. And then the major lesson that we have today is the art critiquing, wherein we discuss about the four steps on how to judge, on how to make a statement about that particular art based on your perception as an audience, or it could also be the artist's perception by describing, by analyzing, and then uh, analyzing, interpreting, and then you make up by judging. Okay, so that's all for now. And then we have here, yeah, good vibes line. Art is something that makes you breathe with a different kind of happiness. So I hope you will try to digest this line after we retire from our lesson for today. I am hoping that I could finish the next lecture, but I think I will be having almost same number of slides, so I think we cannot do it today. But after this, I will be posting this one on the GC, and this is already my second PowerPoint for the month of October. I have my third PowerPoint I will be sending to you because the third PowerPoint contains our task two. But it's not that very difficult because everything is well explained in there, and it is all about two-dimensional art. Okay, so I will stop sharing for now. So I hope everybody understood what I have just discussed. And then let's go back because I want to see your faces and I want to ask questions from everyone. Okay, question. Maybe open our video. Can you hear Miss Tia? Okay, so do you have questions? So after we talk about the style, there are still a lot of styles which I did not discuss because if we're going to discuss everything, wait, my cam is on. Can you see me? Can you see me?
Yes, ma'am, I can see you.
Okay, yeah. So we have just finished the styles and a lot more. Those are not just the styles that we need to learn. There are a lot of more styles in the art. Okay, so what is important in today's lesson are the four steps on how to do art critiquing. That means description, describing an art, analyzing an art, interpreting an art, and judging an art. So sometimes we get confused because how do we describe and how do we have to analyze and how do we have to interpret and how do we have to judge because it's almost similar, right? Okay, I want Sean. Sean, can you say something about the core art? Do you have questions about it? Clarity or more information about those art critiquing procedures?
None po, ma'am.
Is it clear?
Yes po.
Okay. So, do you have question, Jomel?
None, ma'am.
None. Okay, so how about Clark? Yes, Clark.
Wala po, ma'am. Ano po? Copy po lahat.
Copy lahat. So that means you understood all. Okay, I hope that's
Opo.
clear. And my PowerPoint will also reinforce. You can post questions if you have after this. Okay, so I will be posting everything on our GC. If you have questions, just PM me or post your questions on our GC. How about you, Faith? Do you have questions? Faith? Lovely Faith? Do you have questions?
No, ma'am. Clarify naman po lahat.
Okay, so everything is clear. Princess, how about you? Clear? Okay, so I hope everything is clear. Um, give me until tonight to post everything on the GC. The third lecture, wait, ma'am. Yes, the recorded one, can it be posted? Yeah, I will also try to post this recorded one. It would be better, okay? Because I think everything is more on listening than reading, right? And it's time saving when you listen. I also have, it's better to listen. Okay, so have a nice day, class. Thank you for today. Thank you for attending this class. And I thank you that not everyone is sleepy today, even though it's Wednesday already. Okay, so God bless everyone. I love you all. Have a nice day. I will, please reach out if you didn't understand a single thing out of my lesson. And let's pray, let's continue praying for COVID to get off the world, away from earth, okay, and to save lives, okay. Go on, keep on loving the people around you, keep on loving your family. Forget about grudge, forget about hatred, because it will worsen the case of COVID or virus in the world. So let love flow. So God, in God's grace, I love you all. God bless everyone. Take care of yourself and your family. Bye.
Bye po, ma'am.
Thank you po, ma'am.
Thank
Bye
you.
po, ma'am. Thank you po, ma'am.
Bye-bye po, ma'am.